Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 302. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Treadsure, and I have got Preston Parmley here with Treadsure on to talk about what's going on there. So this is one of those things how technology is slowly starting to evolve to make life a little bit easier for everybody on the dealership side. I've seen Treadsure from the very beginning when it was kind of going through its very fundamental growth, kind of how do we make this thing work phase about 5 or 6 years ago, and to where we're at now. So Preston, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. Happy to be here and looking forward to kind of diving into what Treadsure is and kind of what we're working on building. But yeah, you probably saw Treadsure back when it was, Eric had the really crazy concept with the phone camera and all that, and with the scanning of the sidewall and things. So you've probably seen really kind of from the, like you said, the concept phases.
Yeah, and it was a very neat concept, very neat idea how it's coming together. And I think, anymore, the way tires are priced anymore, they're probably one of the second or third most expensive things you can put on a tractor these days. So it's definitely something that is worth paying attention to and knowing what you've got when you step in there. But before we get out of that, Preston, talk a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how you got to where you're at right now.
Sure. So my name is Preston Parmley. I've been with Treadsure now. Actually, this is my first year anniversary, November 1st here today. So I'm product. Thank you. I'm product and sales manager here at Treadsure. Before I was with Valley Irrigation as part of their product management team, working on kind of product development and product releases of basically irrigation controls technology, both hardware and software. And I get the question all the time of how did you end up with Treadsure, and kind of on part of that team. And I follow something that's here in the state of Nebraska called the Combine. It's an ag tech incubator here at the state, as part of the Invest Nebraska. And so I followed them very closely, and Treadsure is a virtual resident of the Combine. So through some social media posts, actually got introduced, talked to a few people, and the rest is history, I guess. So it's been really great. The past year here, we've really kind of taken Treadsure, I guess, kind of back to the drawing board since I came aboard, to really kind of take it from just kind of a standard tire calculator to more of a kind of multi-function software platform that can really benefit anybody in the used equipment business, whether it be your local dealership level or even auction company. So that's kind of a little bit about me and kind of where we've been for the past year.
Okay. So what is Treadsure? If I'm gonna sit in front of somebody and they ask me what Treadsure is, what's the 30-second speech you're going to give them about what Treadsure is?
Yeah, it's the easiest way to put it is it's a mobile application that allows you to walk up to a tire and determine how much life is remaining of that tire in a very simple, easy process. So we're not to the, I joked about the scanning and the mobile phone. What we do is the mobile app consolidates a bunch of manufacturer data books. So we provide accessibility to tire data. And then we've created basically a data entry that we'll show here in a bit, that you input the sidewall, information, your manufacturer, your model of tire, and your size. Our database queues that. You take a quick measurement and it spits out how much percent life is remaining on that tire tread. I talked about that accessibility piece. In the past, dealerships, auction companies, whoever it may be, they kind of walk up to a tire, they kick it, they stick their finger in it or their pen in it, and they say, say it's about 70%. That's everyone's favorite number, right, Casey? 70% life remaining.
Very common number, yes. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's kind of been the approach since the beginning of kind of the agricultural equipment industry, because tire data is, it's out there, but it's hard to find. It's difficult to access. So we basically streamlined that so that way you can determine the tire life remaining in a matter of seconds rather than minutes, and really kind of created a scalable solution for organizations to actually bring tires into their evaluation process in a very accurate way. So that's kind of my not 30-second spiel about what Treadsure is, but
right on. So, I mean, obviously you kind of hit on this a little bit here, kind of knowing that thing, but talk a little bit about why I want to use it, because you kind of hit on there a little bit, you get the right this and you know what you've got here and those kind of things, but there's a lot of other things that go into tires. So talk a little bit about why is it that I want to use this in my dealership function?
Sure. There's several benefits to using Treadsure as part of your used equipment evaluation process at the dealership level. The biggest one is obviously mitigating financial risk or maximizing the profit on the piece of equipment based on the tires. As you said, tire prices are increasing more and more. So that $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 tire replacement can really eat into margins, or in some cases make or break a deal. So, making sure that you, plus the organization and the customer, know exactly what's going on with the tires can really mitigate that financial impact that could happen if the tires were misevaluated. So that's one benefit. Another is really being able to advertise with confidence. As I said there a couple seconds ago, sticking your finger in the tire or a pen or a credit card or a business card, that's great to take pictures of, but from an advertising standpoint and putting that as part of the equipment listing, it doesn't really make sense because you can't really tell what's going on. It's like, okay, you have a great pen, but how much life is remaining on that tire? And the same goes for kind of the listing description. So with Treadsure 2.0, which we'll talk about here in a bit, we've kind of created a way to really have a nice, clean way to advertise and include the tire life remaining as part of the equipment listing. And then the last bit too is we talk to dealerships all the time, and everybody's always wanting to get more streamlined and consistent workflows. There's a lot of technology companies out there that are doing really great things. Tractor Zoom, Anvil AppWorks, those guys that are bringing these technology solutions to help streamline the processes at the dealership, and that's kind of also one benefit that Treadsure does provide as well, is rather than lining up 10 guys and telling them all to guess, what do you think that tire is? What do you think that tire is? We're providing each person a consistent approach, so that way their tire evaluations are the same all across the board. And when we're looking at these dealerships now that, my goodness, have 15, 25, 30 plus locations, and across states even, that consistency can be big, especially kind of going back to that first point of that mitigating that financial risk of misevaluating those tires from one store to the next. So a lot of really great benefits with using Treadsure, but ultimately we're just trying to provide that transparency to the tires whenever a new tractor rolls onto the lot.
Yep, right on. All that's important too. I mean, even on multiple locations from multiple areas, I mean, depending on what they're doing or where they're at, and conditions and those kind of things, treadwear is significantly different in what they're doing. If you're in a corn production area, stubble damage is a big problem. If you're in an area where corn, more of a wheat production area, that stubble damage isn't the same situation. So there's a lot of moving parts there when you look at all the different intricacies that come together with having that vast spread across the area. So
and even across some store locations too, just the different tire models and sizes that they have. That's even from a more simple level, being able to advertise the make, model, and size easier rather than having to zoom in on a picture is even can provide benefit there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so you mentioned earlier you got a new version of Treadsure that came out. You got 2.0 that came out. So what's the big difference between 1.0 versus 2.0?
Yeah, so biggest difference with the 2.0 release is now we now have two different versions of the application. We have our basic version and our pro version of the application. So our basic version is a free to use, free to download tool. It'll always be free. We see a lot of benefit to giving producers guys who are wheeling and dealing equipment just kind of on the side. See a lot of benefit to people using kind of that basic version and giving them access to that database. And then our pro version is really it's a paid feature access, really designed for organizations. So having user accounts, having high volumes of equipment and evaluations going through the application, that was really what it was tailored and designed for there. And to kind of help show the difference, I could sit here and just, blab on all day about the differences, but I can actually pull up our application here. And another cool thing with 2.0 is we now have a desktop version of the application as well. And that's at web.treadsure.app that you can see there. So I will, just throw this out here. If you don't have it installed, go download the Treadsure application, or if you already have it on your phone, make sure you update it to 2.0. So that way you have the latest and greatest bells and whistles on the application. But as you can see here, this is the home screen for our basic version. This is our free version. And this is going to be really exactly the same as Treadsure has been since the beginning of our release. The same functions, features is really what our free version is. So you can, hit the quick calculator, enter in your brand, your model, your size. We also have a condition slider built in here to kind of generalize the condition. We still recommend taking good photos of the tires. It's not to replace that bit of the process. And then we also set up everybody with these tread depth gauges here. And Casey, I'll probably share a link with you to maybe get these kind of, if people want them, they can enter in their information and we can get them sent out.
Sure.
So all you got to do is you got to measure the tire in a couple different places around the tire, and then you slide your depth slider around to whatever you measured, and you hit continue, and it spits out your tread life remaining. So again, this is the really kind of core basic functionality of the Treadsure application. But with 2.0, as I said, we now have the ability to have user accounts in the application as part of the pro feature set. So once you log in under your organization, you'll now see the home screen changes to show a few more features that again are designed for that pro level or dealership level type of access. So the first is our Treadsure report. This is really our flagship feature of 2.0. And I'll kind of go through the workflow, so I won't spend too much time on what that is. But it basically spits out and generates a tire report for the entire machine in a single picture format. So that way it can be uploaded directly into MF Pro, Power EQ, Heavyworth, whatever you're using for your software platform for kind of managing your used evaluations. And it just spits it right into the equipment listing. So that way you can see it, others at other stores can see it, your customers can see it. Eliminating all that kind of frustration or friction when it comes to, what's going on with the tires. Because we hear all the time, one of the first questions out of the grower's mouth is, what's going on with those tires? Go send me some more pictures. Or even somebody else at a different store, hey, that machine you got sitting over on the lot, what are those tires actually looking like? So really kind of eliminating that with that report. We have the quick calculator. So again, that's really great if you're just sitting there with a customer and they're like, hey, what's that tire look like? You can walk over there, do that workflow I just showed there a couple seconds ago and be like, oh, that one's got about, 55, 60% life remaining. And then our tire trade-in feature, this is something that's pretty cool in the app. We now have the ability to submit tire trades in also through the app. And this is actually powered by our friends over at Dawson Tire and Wheel. And so if you're sitting there on a machine and the customer wants new tires, you want to know the value or what you're going to get in on trade on the tires that are currently installed. We basically allow you to go around, take pictures in the app, do all the measurements. It bundles up all that information, shoots it off to Dawson Tire, and they basically will email you separately with the trade-in value of those tires because they have all the information that they need. So there's really no back and forth. It's just, boom, here's your price on those tires. So again, as a sales guy, trying to streamline that process as well with, hey, we might want to be looking at new tires on this machine because they're totally shot. Kind of, again, eliminating a lot of back and forth phone calls, things like that, so you can get it all in one shot. So another really cool feature with the Pro version as well. But like I said, the Treadsure report is what we see guys using probably 95% of the time, because it's built for going around the machine during your evaluation process and getting that tire report as part of the evaluation process. So all you got to do is you got to put in your serial number. You know, a lot of guys are just doing the last 6. If you have an Apple phone, you can actually scan the VIN number in via the scanning functionality on the iPhone. We allow you to add in machine details. So you can just go through here, make, model, year. We also allow you to do the hours on the machine as well, because we know that a lot of trades happen either forward or kind of beforehand. So if the machine comes back to the dealership and it says, okay, now it has 5,000 hours, but our Treadsure report said 4,000 hours, probably is going to be a good idea to do another Treadsure report, because those tires just went through an entire another season and probably are going to have a few percent life remaining less than when they originally did. So we do that for dealerships to be able to keep track of what's going on, and also just kind of manage it through their workflow and process. So once they're done with that, they basically, we've cleaned up this workflow a lot. They come up, so say they're on the front left, they just hit add. They just go through and type in again that make, model, and size, slide that condition slider, take a measurement, and hit continue. And now they see that tire populated at that location. So once they get that, they walk around to the other side, do the same process, only now we have the autofill set up for this machine. So they just hit autofill and all that information on the tire just auto populates. This saves a ton of time, especially if you're doing duals, or if you're a North Dakota guy doing triples, you can save more time. And then yes, measure it again, hit continue, and they just continue this process around the machine. And when you go to the rear of the machine, you do have to reset up that autofill function. Input that, slide your depth slider, and hit continue. And now you see all your tires are on that machine, ready to go for the report. Now, once they hit download or email, it sends you the exact same information. It's going to generate that picture of the report of all those tires, and it'll also populate the organization logo up in the top right-hand side of the report, again, for a little bit of that remarketing piece. So if we hit download, we'll see that report pop up there. And then I'm going to come over here and show what it looks like on the format. So here's what it just downloaded onto my computer from that report function. So again, at each location, we see the make, model, size, the tread depth we measured, the condition, and that percent life remaining, along with that machine information and all that information populated around the machine. So again, really just trying to improve the transparency and kind of simplify that process, because we know that pictures really integrate well into all software tools that people are using for evaluating machines. And here's just a quick example of what it looks like when it does actually populate onto an equipment listing. You can see right there, again, that information that was submitted, the organization logo up there in the top right-hand corner. And yeah, see, this one has Firestones and BKTs from front to back. So, and if there was Firestones on the outsides, it would be really hard to know that there was BKTs on that inside position, because those outside duals would be covering it up. So again, validating that tread depth, the brand, model, size, and really kind of giving that advertising benefit to the organization. So that kind of was a really quick overview of 2.0. And again, that Treadsure report is kind of that flagship feature and our biggest difference between that free or our basic version and the pro version of Treadsure. So that's what we've been working on for the past year. And, like you said, we just actually released a week ago today. So it's been a lot of exciting stuff going on here at Treadsure.
Yeah, it looks like it. Looks like that's a really handy report to have, and like you said, it gives that validation and that credence to the evaluation that you did, that it really is 70%, not just the mythical number of 70% that gets thrown around so many times. So
yeah, the mythical number. That's so true.
Right on. So how do you go about getting the difference between? I mean, obviously you go to the App Store, I'm sure, or the Google Store or whatever, and pull down the free version, the app version. How do you go about getting set up for the pro version of it?
Yeah, so today, the pro version, getting your dealership signed up for the pro version is very much we're very involved in that process. So to get set up, you reach out to us. We kind of set up some trainings. We want to make sure that we're setting the dealership up for success. So we kind of custom tailor the trainings to whatever the dealership prefers. If they prefer us to be on site at one of their sales meetings, or if Zoom works well, we can also do that. We have the benefit of being able to train people pretty easily because the application is so easy to use. So we kind of work hand in hand with the dealership if they're interested in becoming a pro version or a pro user, And so we get them set up, turn on the switch, get all their users set up in the application, and we kind of go from there. So to simplify that answer, just reach out to us and we can get you started on kind of getting set up as a pro version or pro user.
Right on. So what's been your response so far from the dealers that you've worked with?
So far, the dealerships that are using it and are set up with kind of our initial version of our 2.0 release are loving it. Especially from guys that have used the app in the past to kind of this new streamlined workflow. They obviously are loving that autofill function and some of that stuff we've done to simplify the app. And then, of course, the reports, being able to share those and put them into their processes, they're really liking it. And we've even, surprisingly, some guys that are using the app pretty frequently, it's kind of interesting feedback is new sales guys that are just coming into the business. They really haven't had much sales or agricultural equipment experience at all. Maybe they came from their family farm or something like that, but also their feedback is they love the confidence that it gives them when they go up to the machine, because they don't have 30 plus years of experience like the guy down the hallway does. And the guy down the hallway, trust me, he still needs Treadsure because every tire is different, right? Yeah. But it's cool to hear that feedback, that the reports and the features that we're building also are giving people the confidence to have that accuracy and do their job even better.
Right on. Well, Preston, what's the best way to get a hold of you over at Treadsure? What's the easiest way to get a hold of you guys?
So you can go to our website. We have plenty of buttons on there and kind of reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly at prestonp@treadsure.app. That's my email, always on there. So if you guys are interested in having a demo, doing a quick trial of the 2.0 version, shoot me an email or go on the website and just kind of request to contact us, and we can get you going.
Right on. Well, Preston, I appreciate you being on the podcast, man.
Yeah, Casey, I'm glad you have me, and looking forward to the next Moving Iron event down in. Is it going to be in Nashville again next year?
Yep, Nashville, September 11th through the 13th, so same place. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep, crowd favorite, so we'll probably keep it there for a while. So, all right, man. Well, I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast, and the ever so cleverly named Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel, where you can see the video version of this podcast there. Go to Moving Iron LLC for everything Moving Iron related and all the information about the Moving Iron Summit coming up here in Nashville, Tennessee, September 11th through the 13th, 2023. It's hard to believe we're already talking about that, but it'll be here before you know it. So if you're interested in doing that, check that out, and we'll get you all the information you need there. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Preston Parmley. Let's go move smart, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century.